Welcome to Just Cook It Radio, hosted by Chef Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. Just Cook It Radio is about food, life, and everything in between. And now, your hosts of Just Cook It Radio, Mario and Bill.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are listening to Just Cook It right here on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV Channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Pareca alongside Bill Alexander, and across the desk again is our good buddy Mike Sackley.
This is becoming a habit.
This is getting real. This is becoming real.
I'm turning into a fixture right
That's
here.
exactly right.
One thing I want to mention really quickly before moving on, as we were talking after the news, Mike, you forgot to mention the Pittsburgh Pirates winners last night, 5-0 over the St. Louis Cardinals, and now tied in first place in the National League Central Division.
Well, I forgot it just so you could mention it, Mario.
Thank you,
That was my
that.
big plan, yeah.
That was really the highlight of my morning right there. I was at the game again last night, and boy, was Liriano dealing.
He's incredible.
He is. He's an ace. He's a stud, and the bats are starting to come around little by little. I think the addition of Marlon Byrd was big.
Mm-hmm. They
And
needed
John
it, too.
Buck. Absolutely. But so
wait,
that's
I thought the big news this week is you got your media packet for the season or for the playoff tickets.
I did. I got one of those last year too, but this year's the first year that I'm actually really taking it seriously.
I wonder why.
So I'm ready to.
So 4 more games to break the curse.
That's right. That's just
4
step
more.
one, though.
I
We're
know,
looking
I
further
know,
and
I
further.
know.
I want to see 90 wins this year, and I want to go deep into the playoffs.
I heard this week they said the Clemente family believes this is the year they're going to actually go far into the playoffs.
I hope so. I hope they're
so
ready.
we'll
I
see
met
what
the
happens.
Clemente family. Very nice family.
Really?
Uh-huh. But, so, Bill, also, today is tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow is
It's
September
our
1st.
one-year anniversary of the inception of the show.
That's exactly right. And most of you that did not know it existed prior to last December, we actually have a internet online archive of what we did up until that point.
Don't think little of us when you hear it. But
Well, what I think is interesting is I'm driving in this morning, I'm going, wow, 1 year, and then I realized, wow, this weekend is 29 years since I cracked open a microphone for the first time.
wow.
In 1984, and I'm going, I'm old. I can't. You two guys weren't even around or even considered when I did it the first time.
You're a seasoned veteran,
Yes,
that's for sure.
yes.
Bring
Came to WMBS, and what year was that? 1991 when I came here the first time. So
Awesome.
long time ago.
We're doing a lot of celebrating this morning, and in I guess to keep going with the celebration. Last night I was in Altoona yesterday, and I did a segment on Central PA Live where it was actually International Bacon Day yesterday. So I did my slab bacon recipe on the show last night. We'll actually upload that clip to justcookit.tv this week. But I was on my way because I went straight from there to the Pirate game, and as I'm going there, my phone goes off, and I look, and I got a message on Facebook because I posted a picture of the bacon I made, and it was Bill Alexander commenting saying, "Are we going to have samples for tomorrow?" So I promised, and I did bring samples.
It's been a year since we've done started the program, and I finally get samples.
You've had samples when we've done going live.
That doesn't count. That TV doesn't count.
Okay, well,
Okay.
here's a paper towel, and here's some, in this baggie, there's some bacon there for you. That's slab bacon, and I actually got the bacon from the big barn.
Oh, did you really?
So, yeah, so it's hard stuff to find because it's the actual slab before they slice it. So it's the whole slab of pork belly, which is cured and smoked, and that's what bacon is. But the stuff at the grocery store, they actually slice very thinly and package. Well, if you can get it like this in a big slab, you can actually make this, and it's an old family recipe that I actually.
That is really good.
Yeah, it's something you have to be careful with because it's really rich.
Yeah.
Because it's a big piece of bacon, but it's really delicious, especially on sandwiches. And this,
that'd be good. That'd
what
be
you're
really good
eating is
sandwich.
like this is cold, and that's how my family traditionally
Right.
ate it. But you can also, and I showed this on TV yesterday, you can take this bacon after you slice it in these thicker slices and put it in a cast iron pan and
yeah.
just sear the outside so you get a little crispiness on the
Right.
outside. And I like to eat it with mustard and bread.
Oh, that'd be
because
good. I would never thought of
Yeah,
that.
I like either the dark mustard or the 3-grain because it's got a little more vinegar and acidity to it and helps cut through that fat.
Now, so do I taste a little bit of garlic on that?
There's a lot of garlic.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
What you do is you take your slab of bacon, and I use a 2-pound slab, and I put little slits in the top and stud it with cloves of garlic.
Okay.
So I'll take the garlic cloves, peel them, split them in half lengthwise, stuff them inside the bacon, and then I cover the top with smoked paprika and a little bit of cayenne just to give it a little bit of heat. I put it on top of fresh sage and thyme, put a little bit of sage and thyme also on top of it, so it's underneath it and on top of it. 250-degree oven for 4 hours.
Okay.
And then I rotate the pan at 180 degrees every 30 minutes. And then when it's done, you have to you let it cool at room temperature for about a half an hour, and then you put it in the refrigerator until it's completely chilled. And then at that point, you can either slice it and eat it, as you're doing right now,
that's really good.
or you can slice it and sear it on the stove like I did.
So in other words, bacon's not just for breakfast anymore.
No, absolutely not. Bacon's all the time. I would eat bacon around the clock, and Mike, we're going to get you some and when we go to
Mike's
break.
mouths are watering right now.
He's just staring at it. He's like, his eyes are peering over the desk.
Well, he's actually half asleep. He had a long night last night, too.
Yes, with high school football.
We were all dealing with high school football because I have to give a shout-out to Albert Gallatin. 52-0. Unbelievable. I was at that game last night, and when I called the score into WMBS, the young man that was producing high school football here goes, "Are you sure?" And I'm going, "Yes, it's 52-0. Trust me." So.
And I'll give a shout out to Bell Vernon because that's my alma mater. And I'm sorry, but they did beat Uniontown last night. I know a lot of the listening area is probably not happy about that, but that is my alma mater. And you don't have to get mad at me because my parents are both alma mater of Uniontown. So
Mike and my alma mater lost last night, the Franklin Regional. So.
Well, sorry to hear that.
But anyhow.
But the Pirates won, and that's something we can all join hands on, right?
Yeah.
Figuratively, not literally.
It's a heck of a lot better than that Steeler game on Thursday night.
Oh boy, let's not even get started about that.
It's going to be a long season.
Well, preseason doesn't mean much. We'll see what happens, but I don't like what I see, put it that way. Let's see. Moving forward now, we talked about our 1 year, and we've done a lot over the past year.
Yes, we have.
And
we've talked to a lot of people, too.
And we have talked to a lot of very interesting and entertaining people. And one thing I want to mention, moving forward, we can track this more. It seems like we've started a lot of trends.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. It was just a matter of when.
Yeah, with the whole pumpkin.
Right.
But here's the deal. I know pumpkin's always been a big thing going into the fall, and we're going to see that again this year. And I actually have a story coming up later in the program to mention that again. But it seemed like once we started talking about it, to me anyway, maybe it's just because I was paying attention, but last year seemed to be bigger in pumpkin than any other year that I remember.
Well, if you remember correctly, everything was pumpkin flavor last year. I mean, you had pumpkin Pringles.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried those on the program. We had what else was there? There was we got to go with candy corn when the whole Oreo thing that we never got to try. But pumpkin was in everything. I mean, we were cookies in different recipes, M&Ms. I mean, you made an amazing pumpkin tomato soup. When we were talking about grilled cheese and the whole Velveeta fiasco that we created. So
yes,
but again, it is. Pumpkin became that, and I think maybe we didn't start the trend. I think we were more noticeable of it because we started talking about it.
Right before it got huge.
Right before it got huge.
And we actually had Roz on the program from Libby, so we'll try to get
her
back on the program.
Again. Roz was wonderful. That was a fun time.
I learned a lot about pumpkin. I mean, that's a really
I did too, and it's not that I didn't know this, but the whole idea of a difference between a baking pumpkin and a carving pumpkin. And the whole idea and how they actually grow them. And I know the whole organic thing came into play with that interview, too.
And another thing about the canned pumpkin, too, is, people, when I was in the restaurant, a lot of times we would roast our own pumpkin, and we would roast it and then puree it and use our own pumpkin puree. But after looking at the ingredients and then after confirming with Roz, the canned pumpkin, number one, it's way more convenient, and number two, it's just pumpkin.
Right.
There's nothing else in that can. It's steamed pumpkin that's pureed.
And from what we found out, I don't know if I would do it or not, but you could open the can of pumpkin, take a spoon, and eat it out of the can.
I've tasted it that way. I haven't eaten the whole can.
But there's no real taste to it, though.
It tastes like pumpkin. I mean, but it's not.
I
it's
hope
not,
so.
Well, let me change that. It tastes like squash.
Yeah.
Because when you taste pumpkin, what we're used to from eating pumpkin pies and pumpkin lattes and the whole myriad of pumpkin things, you're used to tasting that pumpkin pie spice, the allspice, the clove, the nutmeg, the cinnamon. That's what we associate with pumpkin pie. So if you're cooking anything with pumpkin, if you add pumpkin pie spice to it, it's going to taste more like the traditional pumpkin you're used to. But if you just taste it out of the can, it tastes like squash.
Right. And the one thing that I thought was really interesting, because in this area of Pennsylvania, people, and Roz never heard of this until I brought up, is the pumpkin chocolate chip cookies.
And those are awesome.
And those are amazing. My sister-in-law still makes the best in the world, and I will put hers up against anybody, but she never heard of it. And they said they were going to start taking baking recipes to start putting on Libby's website about what different ways you can use pumpkin.
Yeah, we'll talk more about pumpkin moving into
I'm kind of sad.
September, October.
We're into September. Well, today's the end of August, but still, The beginning of September is tomorrow. So where did summer go? Where did it go? It just went.
Yeah, it went fast.
All I know is I need to cut grass, but that's about it.
There you go.
The last 4 days have been miserable. I couldn't get out to cut grass.
Well,
on that note,
I want to talk about one thing I'm going to do right now is before we move on, I have a couple more stories we're going to talk about. But I want to throw out the phone numbers so you can call us because we will be opening the phone lines after this first segment. The numbers again, toll free 855-590-0590. I'll say that again, 855-590-0590. Locally, it's 724-812-0590. And of course, you can always use the station number. It's 724-438-4593. Those are the ways to get a hold of us. We'd love to hear from you. Call us, let us know what you think. Ask questions about food, cooking, anything you have, and we'll do the best we can to get you your answers. And the reason I just reiterated those numbers is because we had someone last week say, I wanted to call, but I didn't know the numbers. So I wanted to say it, and we'll say it again the next segment. And we'll
did you write it down and put it on the refrigerator for him?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
We made sure that it's front and center. So
we'll go to your house and do that too. If you don't know the number, we'll come write it down for you.
And it's not that difficult to remember. So
hey, since you did all that, we need to take a break.
Okay.
So let's do that.
We're gonna get a break. When we come back, I have a couple stories I want to talk about in the food world. I'm also going to give you a code. Speaking of pumpkin, if you want a pumpkin spice latte, you can get one now at Starbucks, but you have to have a secret code. We'll give you that. We'll talk about that.
Let me get my note thing ready on my phone here so I can do it.
You better. And then we're going to talk about a couple other things in food news, and we'll round the show off with food holidays later, and hopefully taking your calls all throughout the show. Just Cook It. We will be right back with more Just Cook It right after this break, so do not touch that radio dial. And Just Cook It is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store and Deli, by Bereka Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, by the Herald Standard, and on FCTV by Phil Gianetti Motors.
And you're watching Just Cook It on Channel 77, Fayette TV, and you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS. Phil Gianetti Motors at 656 National Pike East in Brownsville is a proud sponsor of programming on FCTV. Phil Gianetti Motors providing quality vehicles for 45 years. If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, give Phil Gianetti's a call at 724-785-6800 or stop by their website, philgianettimotorz.com.
Hello, Fayette TV, and thank you for watching Just Cook It Radio right here on Channel 77. I am Mario Pereka.
And I'm Bill Alexander. If you like what you've seen so far, you can watch the program in its entirety at justcookit.tv for food, life, and everything in between.
Good to have you back. You're listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Pereka. I'm here with Bill Alexander and Mike Sackley.
I smell a lot of garlic now.
This room is just... And Mike was just gnawing on some of that bacon. What'd you think, Mike?
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, my goodness. I mean, you just don't get that anywhere else.
No.
They're so good about it.
It's good stuff. And like I said, it's very difficult to find. The hardest thing for me about making that over the years, like I said, it was an old recipe that my grandfather used to make. And the hardest part we had was finding the bacon. Because it's hard to find bacon that's slab bacon that's not pre-cut or pre-sliced. And they have it all the time at the Big Barn.
I would have never thought of that. But again, the local butcher shop has disappeared from our local communities, so I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where my family, whenever they would find, because they would have it at select times throughout the year, whenever we would find it, they'd buy 5-10 slabs at a time, put it in the freezer. So we would have it for the next few months because, needless to say, it doesn't last long once it's made. But
that's interesting because I'm thinking through, and the last time I was honestly in a butcher shop I was probably 10 or 11 years, and that was up in Richland Township, between Richland and Hampton, and there was one next to the Barkus Bakery, which you don't hear that name anymore. And we would walk in, and then they had the best chipped ham. That was the best part of going in there. They gave it to us.
There was a butcher shop when I was very young that we used to go to that had the best steaks, but I remember I was really little, and it was really an old-time butcher shop.
Yeah, that's like this. Yeah.
And we'd go in, and you know the owner who is the butcher, and I used to love going there because while my mom was getting steaks, he'd always give me a lollipop.
Oh, heck,
So-
they used to give us cheese or chipped ham
Yeah,
when
well,
we walked in.
because it was a little convenience store, but it was a butcher shop,
Right.
and that was the backbone of it. So my mom would go in and get steaks or pork chops or whatever, and I'd always get some kind of candy. So I was
Yeah.
always down with it.
Well, my thing is that when you walked into this one, they had the little paper trays that they would put the chipped ham in, weigh it, and then they would bag it. You don't get the little paper trays anymore. They were really cool. I like
yeah,
this.
yeah, that's old school.
It's like buying milk in glass bottles. You can't do that either.
Some places you can.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
It still tastes best in the glass
It
bottle.
does. If you go, I believe Whole Foods does that.
I'm
So
not
if
driving
you're-
all the way
I'm
up to
just
Whole
saying,
Foods.
if you're out
if
that
they
way,
move one closer to me, I'll go to
if
Whole
you're
Foods.
out that way, and it means that much to you, the milk and glass jugs.
I'm not
and
going to Wexford.
If
I'm
you're
sorry.
on your way to, if you're on your way to Pittsburgh, on 51 McGinnis Sisters,
Yes,
they have the glass
Do they
from,
really?
from Brenton's Dairy, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
They also have Mancini's bread there too.
Yes, and one of my favorites is in the glass bottles is the chocolate milk.
Oh yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
But one story I want to get into, Bill, and I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you've heard about this, but it started on the NPR blog called The Salt, which is their food blog.
No, I didn't hear that.
And so they published this article, okay, and they hashtagged it, and I can't say the hashtag because there's some profanity in it.
Okay, fine.
But it's Chicken Bleep Storm.
Okay.
Okay. And they published this article in the Slate, which is another news site,
Online
got a
news
hold
site.
of it, and they posted it. And then Mr. Alton Brown from the Food Network,
Okay.
who's the celebrity who does who did Good Eats and then Iron Chef America, and now he's got a new show on called Cutthroat, got a hold of it and posted on his Twitter account.
Good Eats was the program where he talked about the origin of food.
Yes, and like
Okay.
science and things.
Okay. I like that
So
program.
he got a hold of it and posted a thing to his Twitter account on it, and then Michael Ruhlman got a hold of it and posted about it himself. So this is
And now we got it.
now we got it. This
Okay.
is slowly taking storm in the food world, and it's a really touchy subject for a lot of cooks. So it's about cooking chicken at home, and the NPR ran this, and there's a lady from, let me see where she was from. She wrote this. Drexel University
Okay.
wrote this about how everyone's doing it all wrong. You should never rinse your chicken before you roast
And
it.
I've heard this before.
And yes, and it's sent people into an uproar. And Alton Brown said basically, and I'll quote what he said. And what Alton Brown does on Twitter is he makes Post-it notes and draws them because I guess Post-it sponsors him or
Oh,
whatever.
okay, that makes
Takes
sense.
pictures of them
And
and
then
posts them.
post it.
That's his tweets.
Oh, that's a
he
clever
doesn't
idea.
type anything. He posts. So he made this 4-panel Post-it note about
Okay.
this thing, and he sent it to Ruhlman to post on his blog.
Right.
And Ruhlman's a big blogger and author in the food world. And the title that he gave him was, "We all need to calm the expletive down." So,
Use your
and-
own expletive is what
yes,
he's saying.
and
Yes.
Michael Ruhlman was very upset about this as well. This really angered him. And I guess the point is, we've been doing it this way for so long, and they were even bashing Julia Childs for rinsing her chicken and saying that
Oh,
you
really?
should rinse your chicken. And
How can you bash a woman that's
honestly,
dead?
I've always rinsed my chicken.
Okay.
Okay, it's just something that is done. It's something that's been done. I don't think it's wrong either way. And my whole point is, when you cook the chicken in the oven at the high temperatures,
It's
it
gonna
kills
take
the
care of it anyway.
bacteria. Now, what they're afraid of is water splashing. But here's my thing too: if you use common sense, when I make chicken at home, I wash my hands over and over
Right.
again. I'm continuously sanitizing the area that
Right.
I'm working in. If you use common sense,
You're
okay.
also if you're using common sense, you're also not putting it under water that's coming out full force, so it will splash
Right.
everywhere. It's basically, when you do it, you turn it on partial way and you rinse the chicken.
And Alton Brown, and here's his, you can look at these, I'll post these on our website. Here's his Post-its, and he has the proper method for washing out chicken. So pictures included. So the first step is you get your chicken and you put it under clean water and gently agitate and pour out the water from the cavity.
Right.
And shows a picture of
And now this is a whole chicken that he's showing.
Yes. And then it says, step 4, douse the house with accelerant, burn it to the ground to kill the germs, take off and nuke the entire site from orbit, and it's the only way to be safe.
Okay,
and be
can
sure.
I'm going to ask you a question, because we've gotten so hypersensitive about bacteria within the last 5 to 10 years that you never heard this stuff, at least not that I remember in the 80s or in the 70s or even going back to the 60s, where you had to tell people what to do when they prepared food. Is it because now we have the internet, because we have these cooking shows, that we're doing so much, I guess, teaching that we have to start telling people some common sense things to make sure they handle everything properly, or is it we're just becoming oversensitive?
It's both.
Okay.
I think it has a lot to do with it that we talk more about it,
Okay.
that it's there, and I think that...
Well, I think we should just stop, so I'll talk to you later. I'm leaving.
Okay. I didn't mean us.
Oh, okay.
Because we speak the truth. We're giving... But, yeah, we're talking more about it. People are looking at it more, and people are getting ultra sensitive about everything
Right.
in the news, everything, period. And I just, bacteria's always been there. It's not something that popped up overnight. It's not something that, that just happened. It's always been there.
It's always been there.
And to be honest, common sense, if you use common sense and you're relatively healthy, you shouldn't have a problem because your immune system should kill pretty much anything.
But again,
that
they
you
said our
ingest.
immune systems are not as what they were 10 or 15 years ago, because every time we turn around, everybody's using hand sanitizer to kill all the germs off their hands and off their bodies.
That and our diet. I don't want to get into that today.
Well, I know we've talked about this
because that's
before.
a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so it's my advice on this whole chicken washing thing.
Yeah.
However you do it. It's up to you.
Until
Don't
you get
too
sick,
concerned.
then
Don't be too concerned and just use common sense.
Right.
When you're working with raw meat at all, wash your hands, sanitize your
the
work
area that you're working.
and because when like we said, when you put it in the oven, it's going to kill bacteria because of the high heat. So
You just my mind's working 500 different directions, and you when preparing the meat and stuff like that. Cutting boards,
yes.
wood, or the plastic antibacterial growing cutting boards. So
Well,
I can't remember what they're
here's-
called.
That's a double-edged sword because I prefer wood. Wood is much easier on your blades, your
Okay.
knife blades. But here's the deal. Obviously, cross-contamination is a big thing, and wood's more difficult to clean because you don't want to submerge it in water because it'll get waterlogged.
Right.
So
I've
what
ruined cutting boards like that, by
yes,
the way.
what I tend to do.
Oh, my mother was
is-
mad. Anyhow,
I have a wooden board that I generally use for all my fruits.
is that the round one
vegetables.
you carry?
Well, no, that's my TV board.
Oh, that's your
So I
TV
just
one,
use that for
okay.
TV. But I have a wooden cutting board at home I use for my fruits, vegetables, prep work.
Okay.
And then I have, I'll use one of those plastic ones for poultry, and for one for
Beef.
poultry, and then I have one for beef. And because those ones you can sanitize much easier.
Right.
And I try not to do a ton of butchering on them just because you can get that done by a butcher. Or at the store. So you're just preparing, like if I'm stuffing a chicken, I'll do it on that board. And then you can take that board and you can wash it with Clorox.
But then
or
going
put it
back
in
to the whole
dishwasher.
butcher, how do we know it's not being cross-contaminated there?
You just have to trust them, basically. I mean,
I'm
they-
not eating anymore. I'm sorry.
But here's the thing again. They're working with this meat all day. You're going to put it in the oven to kill it. So,
Well, that's my thought
to
too.
kill
Yeah.
the bacteria. So, I mean, that's not a huge concern for me because even if you go to restaurants, you got to get your meat somewhere, right? It's got to come from
You know what?
somewhere.
It's very true.
So you're not going to go out, and maybe you will. I won't anyway. Go out and slaughter a cow or a chicken,
Right.
and then take it into my kitchen, pluck it.
There's some
skin,
people
cook it.
here
Yeah.
that do.
And if you do, more power to you. I don't, and I'd say a majority of the listeners
Just don't do it.
either. So, your food's got to come from somewhere, whether it's in a restaurant, whether you get it at the store. It's just how do you handle it once you get a hold of it,
Right.
while you prepare it and before you eat it.
And speaking of cutting boards, which I go back to watching Shark Tank, I spoke to Connor from Misto Box, and he will be joining us on the show in the next coming week.
Awesome.
And we're making arrangements for that now, so we're really looking forward to that. And also talk about Mark Cuban, too, which gave them $75,000 to invest in the company,
That's
which will
nice.
be interesting.
Mark Cuban. Can we get Mark Cuban?
I
on
would.
the
Hey,
show?
why not? We had Alex Presley on.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
We can go into the sports venue and everything. I don't care.
Yeah.
Does he own a restaurant?
Who, Mark Cuban?
Yeah.
He owns a lot of things.
Hey,
I'm not
Danny
sure if he owns
Marino
a
was in
restaurant.
Pittsburgh
I
on.
saw that. He threw out the first pitch.
That's why they lost Thursday. Anyway, sorry.
Mike's over here chuckling. I think Mark Cuban's one of his idols.
Is he?
He's a Pirates fan, I believe, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to buy.
wanted to buy the
and he
Pirates.
wanted to
That's
buy the
right.
Cubs, but Major League Baseball, their owners are a very fickle group, and they have to, before you can give them your money, they have to unanimously vote you.
Approve you.
Yeah, to be an owner. And they
There's something about Cuban they probably didn't like.
well, it's kind of his. You see how he is with the Mavs at the Mavs
Exactly.
games. How he's very outgoing,
Flamboyant.
flamboyant. Yeah, they weren't a big fan of that. But
Sideshow, basically.
yeah, and each their own, whatever.
Yeah, but it's fun though.
I agree. But
I mean, the Pirates, in a lot of people's mind, Bing Crosby still owns them. What are you talking about?
Bing. Anyway, we're just all over the place.
Yes,
Food, life,
yes,
and
we
everything
are.
in
There you
between.
go.
That's right. So the next thing I want to get into, and if you want to call in and tell us how you if you wash your chicken or not, and how you do your chicken, please do 855-590-0590, 724-438-4593. Give us a call. Let us know. And anything else you want to talk about, the phone lines are open. Now, Bill, one of the most popular beverages at Starbucks is their
Coffee?
spiced pumpkin latte, which
Okay.
is coffee based.
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
very
jumping.
you're very astute.
I'm jumping ahead. There we go.
But so their pumpkin spice latte. Now I have tasted it. I don't really drink it.
I don't think I've ever had it before.
It's okay. But I'm more of a purist where I just like black coffee.
I just finished my black coffee.
I said your coffee
Yeah.
a la Bill Alexander.
Yes.
Mike, do you drink the pumpkin spice latte?
I think I've actually had one. I don't know if Sheets has one too, but I think I
They
had
do.
one last year
Yeah.
when they had the fall season. I think I had one. It was pretty good, but a lot of sugar in it too.
Yeah, they use a pumpkin flavored syrup.
They use
and then
at least one bag of sugar, from what I understand, for every cup. So,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's 5 pounds right there
for one cup.
for one
That's
cup.
a lot of sugar. But you might be better off drinking a Coke. When Coke was saying they're healthy, they might,
There you go.
comparatively, figuratively speaking, if you compare it. But anyway, so the pumpkin spice latte doesn't come out. It's not out yet, but it is kind of out yet. It's a
Okay.
secret. It's top secret.
It's a secret.
And we're going to spill that right now. If you go to Starbucks, okay, and from what I understand, it's any Starbucks,
Yeah.
and you talk to your barista, that's who makes the
Barista,
coffees,
yeah.
and you give them the secret code. So I think you have to wear a trench coat,
Okay.
and you have to
The
kind of
hat.
cover your face,
Okay.
yeah, and you go in, and you have to tell them the code is PSL10.
Wait, let me write this down. PSL.
10. So if you go in there
10.
and you say PSL10, I think that's all you have to say. They'll make you, but you may have to say the size. What is it, grande, venti,
Grande.
yeah, whatever.
PSL10. Why is it PSL10?
Pumpkin spice latte, maybe it's 10 year. I don't know.
I don't know.
PSL is pumpkin spice
I'm
latte.
sorry,
I
I
don't know
would
what
have.
I
I
don't know what
never
10 means.
associated that together.
But if you tell them, oh yeah, it says here it turns a decade old this year. That's why it's 10 years. So it's a sneak peek deal to mark their 10-year anniversary. So you go in, cover your face, be very. Don't let other people see you. You have to be very sneaky.
Okay, so they tell all the baristas that they were doing this.
Yes,
because there's
top
going to be
secret
people
code.
all over the region after hearing this going PSL10, and they're going, huh?
No,
What?
it's a thing. You go PSL10, and they will make you the pumpkin spice latte now.
There is a good chance that I'll be at Starbucks sometime today.
Try it.
I will try it.
Yeah, you have to be very secretive
Yes,
though. You
I
can't
will.
just walk in and scream
Yes.
it because,
I was told PSL10.
That's right. That's all you have to say. Just give them a wink.
Yeah, a wink and a nod.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PSL10. So there you have it. If
PSL10.
you want your pumpkin spice latte and you don't want to wait for it, PSL10.
So did you get this from? Did you get this from some guy that was smuggling it into the country? Where did the information come
Top
from?
secret info. I can't divulge my
Oh,
sources.
okay.
I mean, I could tell you, but then when we came back from break, you wouldn't be here anymore.
That's
So-
true too. I still may not be here
it's
after
the-
break. What are you talking about?
Top secret. You're tired of talking, right? We talk too much.
It's
That's
been a
what
long.
causes-
It's been a long day. Hey,
Anyway,
yesterday was a long day.
long day. It's only 9:42.
I said yesterday.
But so one other thing I want to talk about before we briefly mention our food holidays and hopefully get some calls in. Have you heard about the whole fast food strike?
Yes, I did.
And this is it's gone farther than fast food. It's into like department stores.
Yeah.
It's hit like 60 different cities at this
My
point.
question is, and I was going to ask Mike, did it go into radio yet?
Well, Mike's still here,
Well,
so
I was gonna say I'm not picketing outside the station yet. So I guess
unless
not.
Mike crossed the line.
Yeah, because I was thinking it was going into radio too, from what I was hearing.
Well, it was until Mike heard we were gonna have bacon this morning.
Yeah,
and
then he showed
decided-
up.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
called it
crossing the
off.
line for you.
That's right. But yeah, so there's a strike going on. It's a pretty big thing. I guess it started with McDonald's, and now it's gone into all these other to department stores and
Right.
different things. There's 60. So basically, what they're striking for is they want $15 an hour.
They want a
plus
better
full
wage,
benefits,
is what they want.
plus full benefits
Yeah.
from or at least unionized.
Right.
They want to be unionized. What do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I go either way on that, and I was kind of glad you brought it up because I was listening to someone talk about it yesterday on the way home, And again, I thought of radio first because I remember what my first job in radio, I was making next to nothing. I mean, you could go work at McDonald's and make more than what I was making working radio. But when you started, were you making a livable wage at the club?
Well, yes, but here's how that worked. We were unionized.
Okay.
But you obviously had a 6-month period before you could join the union.
Right.
So I wasn't unionized at the beginning, but I was making more than minimum wage, but I wasn't making $15 an hour.
Right.
I was making less than that.
Yeah.
And we would get, due to the union, we would get a standardized raise every year that you were there, and it worked out well. I mean, now being at the Duquesne Club, it's a give-take thing. Yeah, we did a little bit better than most people in the industry, but at the same time, we were subject to a lot more stress, a lot more pressure, and we worked a lot more hours.
Right.
So, and for me, driving all the way there, when you go to a place like that, you don't go there for the pay, you go there for the experience, and then if the experience pays off, which is entirely up to you, then the pay will come later.
Right.
And that's how that works. Now, I think the thing with the fast food that makes it different is a lot of people that are working there aren't working there to become the next manager.
No, they're working there because they're working jobs.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of where the difference is in the motivation.
But
I
think this one touches everybody's pocketbook or wallet because we all deal with it. And when we hear that someone's getting more money, it's going to affect us how we're going to have to pay more for the product. I don't have a problem paying more for the product because I feel that the fair wage, the whole idea of a fair wage, I don't have a problem with that either, especially if the person's working for it. If you've been there, you're putting time in, you're doing your job, you're doing it to the best of your ability, and you're showing up and doing what needs to be done, then fine. Do an increase. McDonald's has, and I know there's a lot of people listening right now, they're going to argue with me. But that's the way it works in this society. If we do a good job, you get compensated for it. Why don't we compensate people that work fast food for doing a good job?
Now, here's my question. I may be a little out of touch, but what's the minimum wage right now? Is it $7.25?
$7.25?
Is that what it is?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So basically, and here's my whole thing.
I think doubling it's a little bit high.
Exactly.
I think go to 9, maybe even 10, okay. But
Yeah.
doubling it, I think, is slightly
That's where I was going to go. And to me, like that being said, I told you that I wasn't making $15 an hour when I
Right.
started the club. If I was doing that every day, now like I said, that's a job you take to move up and to
Right.
get experience. But that even so, if I was doing that and busting my butt every day and doing that for what I made, and I found out that people around the corner at McDonald's who don't have the education, who don't put in the time or
Right.
the effort, are making $15 an hour, I would be
You'd
upset.
have a problem. But again, would it all work out in the wash that everybody would also be lifted? That's the whole argument about minimum wage.
Well,
So there is no how do I put it? There's no higher pay for qualified workers or skilled workers. I remember when I got my first job in radio, I was doing overnights. I worked there, did an hour-and-a-half drive to and from. When I lived in Mars and I drove to Connellsville every day. That was when Turnpike fare was really cheap, and I worked at Burger King during the daylight hours. I got 4 hours of sleep before each shift, and that's what I did. Burnt me out very quickly. But again, you did what you had to do, and I didn't have a family. I was young at the time. I was able to do it. So again, it's just one of those things. Do I think they should be paid more? Yes, if they've done the work and they've been through the system. There's people that have been at even the department stores. They've been there for 20 years and they're still getting a below wage. But they're still doing what they're supposed to do. They're showing to work. They're department heads, whatever it may be, and they're not getting compensated for it.
and those are all valid points. And my whole feeling is about the whole thing, like you said,
Yeah.
I agree. If you work and you do a good job and you work hard, you should be compensated for
Right.
that. I agree with that. But doubling it, I think is a bit
think
much.
it's too high.
I think they're shooting too high. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they want to shoot so high, and because they know they're not going to get what they ask for, and maybe they'll say, okay, well then we'll give you
Right.
10. And then
Right,
they'll
we'll
say,
go $3
okay.
raise.
So,
Speaking of that, we got to take a break.
okay, let's take a break, and we will be right back. So don't touch that radio dial, and have your phones handy because we'll still be taking your calls, and we're going to talk about some food holidays when we get back. And Just Cook It is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store and Deli, by Pareca Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, and by the Herald Standard.
And you're watching Just Cook It on JustCookItTV.tv, excuse me, and you're watching us on Fayette TV, Channel 77, and you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS.
Welcome back. You're listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77, and at JustCookIt.tv. I am Mario Parecka here with Bill Alexander and Mike Sackley. And we kind of had, as I picked the food out of my teeth, we kind of had a bacon fest during the break again.
There's one piece left, so we'll see who's fighting for it.
It's like that last piece of pizza that
everybody
it's in
wants.
the box, and you're like, all right, does anybody want this? And you're hoping that nobody says yes because you really want it, but you feel like you're obligated to offer it to other people before you take it.
Yeah. In
So we'll just keep staring at it.
In my house, there's a 13-year-old that gets to it before I do. And it's like that last piece of pizza. Dad, you really don't want this, do you? No, I don't want it. Go ahead and take it. Are you sure, Dad? No, take it, Dan. Please, just take the pizza.
Deep down inside, you really want it.
I
You're
want that.
Starving. But
and I didn't have the nerve to tell him I put my fingers all through it so he wouldn't eat it. But anyhow.
Wow.
Nah, we used to do that. I used to do that with my brother. But anyhow.
Well, I could see that.
That was like
siblings. That's a little.
I don't know. You and your sister. There's an age gap. My brother and I, they were 4 years apart. When it came to breakfast and bacon on Saturday or Sunday morning, that's when we did the big breakfast during the weekend. There was a plate of bacon. And now we have to say how many pieces you're allowed to have with my kids, or they'll eat it all. And my brother and I would eat all ours first to see if we could make my mother and dad feel guilty by turning over their bacon to us. But and then you'd go through he got more argument and everything else. So
Evil
yes,
stuff.
yes, we played real well. Yes.
But let's go ahead and talk about some food holidays really quickly that are coming up. I mean, we'll just touch on them, and then we can kind of talk about whatever we want until the show's over. We'll open it up to like a free-for-all.
We don't have much time.
I know. Today is National Eat Outside Day, so go outside.
Is that outside the home, outside the kitchen, or is that
outside?
Outside.
So go outside. Leave the four walls and go outside in the.
It's going to be a beautiful day to do that too.
Yes, and it's also National Trail Mix Day.
Didn't we have trail, or was that granola that we
was
talked
granola.
about? Okay. What's the difference?
Granola is most of the time is baked lightly to crisp it up, and it's nuts, seeds, all that stuff, and it usually has some honey or some sweetener in it, and then it's baked to make it crunchy and crispy. Trail mix is traditionally peanuts and raisins, but then they can also add all the other stuff
M&Ms
to it.
and pretzels.
They add the
and
other
all that
stuff to it now, but when it was first conceived, it was conceived as peanuts and raisins. I believe it was conceived by surfers actually to give them energy.
Now, why would you call it trail mix?
Because once people started eating it, they started eating it out on the trails because it doesn't go bad, and it gives you that energy. So they call it trail mix, and that's where it got that healthy.
Oh, I got you. I mean, that makes sense. Surf mix just doesn't sound right. It'd be all wet, and I mean, yeah.
Now this was an interesting one. I don't know if I've really even had one of these. On the 2nd, we have National Blueberry Popsicle Day.
Do they make those?
I
guess if there would be a holiday.
Have you ever had a blueberry popsicle?
I can't say I've had a blueberry one before. It sounds pretty interesting, though.
Yeah, normally when you see blue, it's blue raspberry.
Right.
Those blue ones. But
now wait a minute. Where's your interesting fact about the blue foods?
There is no blue.
There
foods.
is no
there
blue
are no blue
foods.
foods. No.
And what color is blueberries?
They're purple.
They're purple.
Actually, people call them blueberries.
Pretty bad. I'm starting to remember last year's scripts.
Good. You're learning something. That means I'm doing my job.
There's no blue foods. Everybody.
There are no blue foods. On the 3rd, we have National Welsh Rarebit Day, and that
doesn't sound appetizing.
You've never had Welsh Rarebit's good.
Is it?
We used to make it at the club. We'd have just a few people that would order it. It's a very old school dish. Basically, what it is how we would make it. It can be a number of things, but how we would make it, we take a piece of toast with a fried egg in the middle of it, like an egg in a basket, and you pour cheese sauce over top of it.
Is that all it is?
That's Welsh Rarebit. That's how we used to make it. Yes. Welsh Rarebit
technically
it's toast with a cheese sauce.
Oh,
technically. But we used to put egg in it.
What's really interesting is I've made my own, except I've used Velveeta, and I've had bacon on it.
Yep.
I didn't realize that's what that was. I'll be darned, I do like it.
Welsh Rarebit.
Why is it called that?
That's what it's called. It's an old school dish.
Welsh
and I
rabbit.
believe it was called. It had something to do back in the medieval days when they came up with this dish. It had something to do with rabbit, and they would use a tavern food.
Right.
And they would do like rabbit with cheese sauce.
Okay.
And they call it Welsh rabbit. And
Which
then
makes sense.
It kind of turned into people just wanted bread, and then they'd add egg to it, and it turned into Welsh rabbit.
I'll be darned. I would have
let's
never
see.
known that. I mean, for years I have eaten this. I've made my own.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Sounds good now.
Yeah.
Breakfast.
First it wasn't
Yeah,
appetizing.
No, but now
Now-
it sounds
yeah.
good.
Open your mind, learn about
Well,
things.
no,
and it will
actually
turn
know what
good,
things
but-
are
There you
before
go.
making a judgment.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Most of the
Or
time
by
I
a
do
really
judge a book
bad
by its-
name,
yes.
but anyhow.
The 4th is National Macadamia Nut Day.
I love macadamia nuts.
The 5th is National Cheese Pizza Day.
I had cheese pizza yesterday, and it's like one of those things it's good,
But it's missing
but
something.
it's missing something. It's exactly right. It's like put something on it. I
Yeah.
mean, if
And if it's for me, if it's gonna be a cheese pizza, it's gotta have extra cheese. It's gotta have like a huge layer of thick, melty.
and this one
delicious
had
cheese.
5 different cheeses on it, and trust me, it was
Wow.
good, but it was missing something. And it's like, is it missing sausage? Is it missing mushrooms? Is it missing bacon?
All of the above.
What is? I mean, what is it missing?
Well,
But
what I go back to with pizza is a pizza to me, and this is my feeling. You may think differently. A pizza's only as good as its crust.
I agree with that.
So that's the most important thing. You could take a really crappy crust, put fantastic
Yeah.
toppings on it, and it's eh. But if you take a fantastic crust and put subpar toppings on it, I'd still rather
Really,
eat that.
yeah.
And then finally, to round out the week on the 6th, we have one of my favorites, National Coffee Ice Cream Day. And coffee ice cream is one of those things, when I start eating it, I don't want to stop. I don't know why. I just love
So is that
coffee ice
coffee
cream.
flavored ice cream?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get the
Or
coffee.
is it ice cream in coffee?
No, coffee flavored ice cream.
Because I could do it either way.
Yeah, I could go either way
Yeah.
too, and that's something for dessert my grandfather would do. Is instead of putting cream and sugar in his coffee, if
He'd
we
put
had
ice cream in.
he'd put a spoonful of ice cream in it. and
It
would
must
melt
be a
and it would turn into-
grandfather thing, because mine did that too.
And that's one of my, and like I said, the coffee ice cream is one of those things. If I open my freezer and there's chocolate, vanilla, I could go either
Yeah.
way. If I see coffee
Coffee.
in there, I want to take a bite, and once I have a bite,
Well,
game
that's like
over.
the whole thing with Chobani and the coffee yogurt.
Mhm.
I mean, I never had a desire to eat it, and when we did the program and I actually got to try it, I mean, it was just it. I mean, that's the only yogurt I eat, which is probably says something about me that I'm very boring, but it's the only
On
one.
the contrary, I think coffee yogurt with chocolate chips is
It's very
the
good.
opposite of boring. I
Yeah.
think that's quite interesting. So we're getting the finger.
The finger.
Well,
No,
not
not
the
that
finger.
We're being told the time's
not
almost up.
Not
There
the
you go.
Marlin bird, but the time's up finger. So I want to thank you for listening. This was our 1 year
Time
anniversary,
flies.
I guess, but it was fun. We had a good time doing the show today, and I just want to remind everyone to check us out at justcookit.net on the web. That's where all our information is, and you can call us all throughout the week. Leave us your messages, and please call and leave me some questions, or submit your questions to hsfeatures@heraldstandard.com for my Ask Mario column, which is every Thursday. in
And
the
real
Herald Food
quick, I
section of the
saw
Herald
you
Standard.
mention about the London broil
Yes.
in the one this week, and that was very
Well,
interesting.
yeah, we got the call on the show, and
Yeah.
it jogged my memory, so I wanted to use that. But yeah, give us a call, and send your questions in again, hsfeatures@heraldstandard.com, and check us out on the web at justcookit.net. We will be back next week, next Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on WMBS. For Bill Alexander and Mike Sackley, I'm Mario Pareca. Thanks for listening, and always remember, just cook it.
You have been listening to Just Cook It Radio with Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. For more information on this program and how to download it as a podcast, go to justcookitradio.com. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please call us at 1-855-590-0590.
This has been a $1 Million Baby production.